Hello guys, welcome to this Terminals of Halo. I'm Adam, of course, your host, and today we'll be talking about the Brutes. The Brutes or the Jiralhani, were a large bipedal giant ape-like species from Doisak. They were the second Covenant species encountered by the human following the Kigyar raid on the freighter This End Up. They were also the first Covenant species encountered by the Harvest Colonial Militia. The Brutes have an extreme hatred towards the Sangheili, unmatched by any other feud within the Covenant. It was fueled by the Jiralhani's natural aggressive nature and the Sangheili's attitude of superiority. The Jiralhani have been part of the Covenant since before the destruction of the UNSC agricultural colony of Harvest. And they were always feared by the Sangheili for their monomaniacal behavior. The Jiralhani's plan to seize power over the Sangheili began with their alliance with the High Prophet of Truth during the Battle of Harvest. This continued to gain headway until the eventual splitting of the Covenant. They eventually took the role of the Prophet's honor guards from the Sangheili after the Sangheili failed to prevent the assassination of the High Prophet of Regret. Regret's assassination culminated into Jiralhani replacing the Sangheili as the leaders of the Covenant military. They are a native Tier 4 adopted Tier 2 species if you go by a Forerunner technological tier scale. So that means they weren't really advanced until they were adopted into the Covenant Empire. Then they became Tier 2, so they were using weaponry of much higher proportions than before. They were despite their savagery and brutality, the Brutes have proved intelligent enough to achieve spaceflight and spacefaring status. But due to their warlike nature, they usually collapsed into civil war and became pre-space creatures again and again. They had master packs, they had different sort of clans, as you would say, and they were led by their chieftains. Their warlike culture makes the Brutes highly formidable opponents even for the Spartans. They were incorporated into the Covenant to serve as temple guards and as heavy shock troops. Brutes, they're carnivorous given their fearsome fanged jaws and propensity for violence. As part of the Covenant, Brutes were required as prerequisites to convert the Prophet's religion of worshipping the Forerunners. Previously, their culture revolved around the worship of totems and idols, but they made swift converts so they could follow the Covenant. The Brutes are now the most fanatical adherent to the Prophet's faith, although they seem to hold little of no concept of sanity, evidenced by Tartarus' handling of the Oracle. Their combat role was used in form of a secret service or police acting on behalf of the Prophets, doing much of the work behind the scenes. That's why you wouldn't see a lot of them before the events on Earth. Example of the Brute roles are the patrols that went ahead of the Arbiter during the Battle of Installation 05 to try to lower the Sentinel's wall shielding. They policed the Covenant-occupied New Alexandria and assaulting the underground Foreigner artifacts on Reach. So they were sort of like this heavy shock troop, if you will, that would invade areas before the main battle force led by the Sangheili or elites. And they would just go in and tear up everything until they get in, and then it'd be under control by them when the Sangheili left. Though the Jiralhani retains their pack and tribal culture after the Covenant, their constant internal feuds began to take a back seat as enmity with the Sangheili built up. Caused by the similarity in rules between the two species. Though the Jiralhani retained the majority of the pre-Covenant technology, they also began to incorporate aspects of Covenant technology into their own designs, such as mounting plasma cannons onto their prowlers, if you will, some of their transport ships. The Jiralhani have little need to learn the language of other species, instead relying on translation devices. So basically, instead of learning English, I guess, or I don't know what you would call it, but the basic of what everyone speaks in Halo, they use translation devices. Now, obviously, in the games, they didn't, because you needed to hear them. So yeah. But their exact fate after the disastrous defeat of the Ark is unknown, though it is extremely unlikely that they would surrender or retreat, or that the Sangheili would allow them to. A Sangheili shipmaster visiting Kolo noted that at least some Jiralhani factions had formed separate from the Covenant, waging an inherent war against each other, and when the remaining Sen-Shayum retreated into hiding, they returned to their primitive savage nature, allowing the Sangheili to gain upper hand in battle. The brutes are of simian origin and have been said to resemble large gorillas, but in some ways they also resemble ursine or rhinoceroses as well. They have thick gray skin and are covered with matted black, tan, or brown fur-like hair, and have some short black or brown-colored beards. Their large, stocky appearance is most likely due to the gravity on their planet, which is twice the gravity of that on Earth. As they age, the hair will change to a grayish-silver color, which is a great sign of respect for all the brutes. So they have some sort of respect and honors, just like the Sangheili, but in a different way. Their culture, it's more zealous, so kind of like a Sangheili culture. Their willingness to cling to the ancient bloody traditions and are deep believers in the promise of the Great Journey and in the Forerunners. But despite this devotion, the brutes are quite intelligent, even though they don't appear so. Their homeworld is war-torn, and brutes are known for their particular joy in vicious activity, complemented by regimented discipline. They prefer using weapons from their homeworld Doisek rather than the Covenant standard-issue plasma-based firearms. Brute weapons are known for being extremely dangerous, somewhat primitive and brutal, and always featuring a blade attachment such as the Spiker, Mauler, Brute Shot, and the Gravity Hammer. These weapons show their barbaric nature, for example, the fact that all the weapons are named after the ways of injury or causing bodily harm to another being. Although they do have their own type of plasma rifle, it is only found in Halo 2 and Halo 3 ODST. The rifle is red, but fires twice as fast compared to the blue counterpart, also causing it to overheat twice as fast. This type of plasma rifle was removed in Halo 3, being replaced by the Spiker. In general, brutes have pronounced dislike of the Sangheili due to the fact that they believe they are better protectors of the prophets than the elites. The Prophet of Truth took advantage of this to ignite the Great Schism during the events of Halo 2. Well guys, if you liked that video, then please comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see more Terminals of Halo soon. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye.